Hi, my name is Nathan, and I have the pleasure of serving as your artificial intelligence representative to introduce our esteemed speaker for today. Together, we will delve into an exciting new opportunity that holds immense potential for funeral homes and insurance agents alike. Today, our speaker will provide a comprehensive review of the groundbreaking prospect we have in virtual funeral aftercare experiences. This innovative approach not only enhances pre-need funeral plans, but also secures the future legacy of your funeral home by generating substantial future business today. Additionally, our speaker will shed light on the various insurance options that can cater to every possible need a family may have. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Eddie L. Pitt, a distinguished individual with over 40 years of experience in death care sales and service within funeral homes and cemeteries. As the organizer of the Commander Initiative and the president and CEO of Cooper Professionals, Mr. Pitt has worked closely with numerous industry affiliates and counseled countless funeral professionals throughout his career. Today, Mr. Pitt will provide an overview of the foundation for the Commander Initiative's National Funeral Insurance and Essential Insurance Protection. This session sets the stage for the security and growth of small to mid-sized funeral homes nationwide. Each of you has been carefully selected to be a part of this core opportunity, and this initial syllabus will ensure that we all possess the fundamental knowledge necessary to excel in this venture, leveraging your unique skill sets and areas of influence. Without further ado, let us extend a warm welcome to Mr. Eddie L. Pitt. We are honored to have each of you present today, as this presentation establishes the groundwork for a secure future. Thank you for your attention and participation.
Pre-need funeral. And then we look at the fact that we have the Commander Initiative with 300 funeral homes across the United States. Then we have a vast amount of opportunity, and we held to another level of responsibility. And the reason being, a lot of these small to mid-sized funeral homes cannot establish a pre-need program. And same as I mentioned the week that we were in training previously, the pre-need companies, in most cases, they're looking for a funeral home that has 1,000, 2,000 services. And what they do is go into the town and they contract that funeral home, and then they give them an exclusive contract, which means now the small to mid-sized funeral home don't have a possibility of starting a pre-need program unless they figure it out on their own. Now, we know the Commander Initiative was designed to support the small to mid-sized funeral home. And we have attempted to put a pre-need company in place. We had a couple of them. You might notice we took their names down because they secured some of the larger accounts. And then the guys who needed it most, hold on one second. I have another caller coming in. And then the guys who needed it most did not get the support that they needed. And the big guys are already leading in the marketplace. Come on. So now the smaller to mid-sized funeral home, they're going to get snuffed out even more when they activate an aggressive pre-need program, because an aggressive pre-need program is nothing but some serious outreach. Along with meeting your families, doing aftercare, you'll be standing around doing presentations in lodges and senior buildings and churches and things of that nature, because our job is to educate the community, to teach them the wisdom and the logic of prearranging. If most people, I'll say, who gain the knowledge and the wisdom of prearranging, they've already prearranged. The people who are walking around without any coverage and don't have any protection for their family, it's just because of a lack of knowledge. Because once you attain that knowledge, it becomes the most important thing that you do, to have a level of protection for your family. So if you don't know, you don't know. I mean, we walk around like we're going to live forever. But at the same time now, when I stood over a casket, and I went to the cemetery yesterday, all of a sudden, this is real for me. I need to make sure nothing happens that would be crazy with my family. The first thing a person would ask, what if that were me? Am I financially prepared for a death? What would my wife do? What would my children do? How would my affairs work out? And any reasonable, responsible person would want to address that if they could. Well, with the programs that we had to offer, we're looking at somebody paying maybe $50, $60 a month. If you're a responsible person, you can find $50 or $60 a month. It's often been said, people have money for the things that they want. And that's period. If you want it, you'll find a way to get it. But it has to move to the top of the want list before you'll make that sacrifice. And I mean, I'm not against smoking and whatever people do, drinking or whatever. But sometimes you'll find that people will forego maybe a carton of cigarettes or some liquor so that they can get some protection in place for their family, because most people do care about their loved ones. So I put this together and I want it to be something where we really communicate with one another, because there probably would be a few questions. We have some newer agents on the phone, some who are just now getting ready to go in and work on getting a license. Uh, there are going to be some questions. So if we can open it this evening, let's not be really formal, because a lot can't be accomplished that way. We got open forum. You got a question, ask the question. If you got a statement, comment, it will be welcomed. But when we look at the people who are here with us today, I consider myself very fortunate. I've kind of surrounded myself with some of the strongest people. I'd like to reintroduce Mr. Wise. Stanley Wise is our National Vice President of Sales. I need help. And from my position, there's as much opportunity here for each of you that you would want to participate in. Those of you who are not brand new, you're starting at area manager contract, which means you have an area manager contract with tiers underneath you that allow you to build in your particular area. And a lot of people don't understand the psychology of overrides and getting paid for the efforts of other people. But the reality is, when you are in a structure such as this, you get a commission off the efforts of other people. And those other people, why did you get a commission? Because you earned it. You taught them, you trained them, you supported them. And after you go through that process, you earn the right to get a commission. And most of you know, there's not enough time in a day, there's not enough days in a week, not enough weeks in a month for you to make all the money and finance that you would wish to have, because it's just not enough time. But when you multiply yourself and you help someone else, they say reach back and get somebody. When you help someone else get to another level, then you qualify yourself to be in a position where you earn from the efforts of other people. And I appreciate you accepting that position, Mr. Wise. Mr. Nelms, is Mr. Nelms on yet? No, okay. We have Terrelyn Kisaya. And I'll tell you right now, I think she's probably the closest, and no, not the closest, because Militia is already in a location. But Terrelyn is working with one of the locations in South Carolina. We visited with the director and laid the foundation for the pre-need program. They're pulling together pictures and getting the structure together, and we're going to be training. But Terrelyn is already in that location, and that's another reason why we have to kind of touch bases in some of the training, because in a few minutes, the contracts are going to be written. Fortunately enough, commissions are going to be earned. And at the end of the day, supporting the families and the funeral home that we work for, we earn the commission. And there's a possibility to earn substantial commissions. I'll go farther later on, but we were able to secure a contract with the Elko insurance company that allows us to be the boss. There is no other agents that'll be making as much commission from the sales that they consummate than what you guys are going to be able to make. Now, again, all of you have area manager contracts, so I'll be pulling on you, number one, to get you to a point where you're very comfortable, and secondly, to get you to a point where you're going to be able to help somebody else. And with the time that's allotted, everybody has a different purpose for being licensed and working in the insurance industry. But I'll say, whatever the level of activity and opportunity you would like to pursue, it's definitely going to be available. because it's $60 or $70 for a non-resident license. So we're talking about funeral homes, 300 all across the country. If you can concentrate on a particular area, for an example, if it's Wisconsin, we can just ship your license for a non-resident in Wisconsin, and you can write in Wisconsin. I mean, virtually without having to drive. You got to be kidding me. I think this new age of insurance is going to be superior for those now who don't have bad habits and haven't worked too long in the old system. This new system is high tech, high speed. So it puts us in a great place. Terrellyn, as we are starting, share a little bit about the progress that you guys have made so far at the funeral home.
I've got to get behind. Meaning I got to put some fire under the feet of Mr. Glenn. We did have that good initial the meeting with yourself and him and me, and he was like really high, excited about everything. As I mentioned to him, I said, "Did you you sent the email to follow up with the phone call?" So it's going to be up to me to make sure that all the points are checked off. Pictures are pulled together and all the points. So I'm actually out of town right now. So this coming Sunday, I will see him, and we will be talking about it. We've been talking about it since then. So we are pulling together the points that you talked about on the meeting. It's a work in progress, but the initial phone call was really good. Now it's time to put action behind the conversation. So that's where we are now.
And I'll help and support you in that too. When you get back, we'll maybe set up another 15-minute meeting where we just chat around for a little while, because a lot of what I need from him, I can actually probably pull it offline to get his presentation together. And you're already in-house. So I congratulate you on where you are in this process. I did speak today with contracting, and your contracting should be done shortly. When we started with our processes, they're actually were behind the scenes trying to get up to speed with the technology. So they had changed the way that we put new agents in. So I had a sheet of paper that I put it in, and then later they sent me an email with a link where it was supposed to go in, DocuSign, and all that kinds of stuff. So most of you guys within the next 48 to 72 hours will have your writing paperwork with Elko. We have Militia is here with us, and she wasn't able to make our last training session. But I just gotta have a few words from Militia. Militia is the VP of funeral for our funeral home here in Yorkville, and she's the owner of Grace and Mercy Funeral Services. And I'll tell you guys, Militia said, I'm gonna study and get my insurance license. And I was like, that's a great idea. Do you know, it seemed like about 7 or 8 days she called me and said, I got my license. I was like, what? So, Militia, just talk a little bit, introduce yourself, please.
Good evening again, everyone. I'm Alicia Porter. So like Mr. Pitt said, I took the test. Well, I'm sorry, I took the class Saturday, Sunday, got licensed on Monday. So if anybody's waiting to take your license or take your test to be licensed, go right on.
Like that. I like that.
On the head. Jump off the wings, okay?
Oh.
But I've been a funeral director for about 10 years now. I'm a licensed funeral director and embalmer, licensed in both Illinois as well as Indiana. I have a few networks. I actually was priming some of the people. I just left one of the conventions out in Springfield. So I was priming everybody like, hey, I'm going to be calling you soon. Get your funeral home lined up, to get some pre-needs, and let me be your agent. Let me work for you. And one thing they always will present to others is my high level of integrity. So they don't have to worry about me being a competitor, but actually an advocate, an asset for their team. Because when I'm out in the field, I try to make sure I represent whatever the brand is. If you call on me to be for Cooper's Professional, a Grace and Mercy card wouldn't be nowhere in sight. Melisha Porter will be representing as Cooper Professional, or whoever else is the client that I'll be working for. So I'm excited to be newly licensed and learn write contracts and present it to families, because like you said, people pay for what they want. And if you have car insurance, if you're paying a Comcast bill, if you're even paying your cell phone bill, you should have some type of pre-arrangement set up for yourself. And one thing I did learn in class, which was very important, I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna finish up. Insurance, it does not lock in today's prices. Insurance is supposed to be for your legacy. Pre-need is for your final expenses. So a family concept, I think they will be more interested in locking in today's costs, because we see how inflation is. We see how COVID took us and ran with us. You had government promising to waive all fees. Later, you found out the interest was going up. So you can't trust the man. I'm a veteran, and I know I would never sign up again. So yeah. So again, I'm excited.
Good to hear you, sister.
Well, Melissa, you know, I'm always excited by you and your level of enthusiasm and professionalism. And right in that house that you're in, you got about 5 or 6 guys that's just waiting for you to come on and get your training. You'll be writing contracts in no time.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. I primed all of them.
Let me make sure I'm not holding anybody who's trying to get on. Hold on one second. All right, we got everybody. We have 3 newbies with us that weren't with us the last time. We have Mr. Deborah Steele, Geraldine Ross, and Justine Click. I'm going to give you guys a few moments to introduce yourself and talk about where you come from and what you'd like to do. Let's start with Mr. Steele at the top. You're muted, Mr. Steele.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sure. Oh, okay, great. Oh, yeah, it's just been, Ed, since you contacted me, I know it was on a whim when you did contact me. For some time, we had worked together, but of course, I've been in the business, for 20 plus years. And Ms. Porter, outstanding. It took me months to get my license, but that was eons ago. But I congratulate you on your brain and where you receive information, because it's a lot of information to take down. But I'm looking forward to the opportunity to the pre-need side. I've been in the life insurance investment side. I always say I could never work a real job, a 9 to 5, but I love doing right by my people. Just went to a funeral today over at Raynard. So, just looking for that side. What Cooper Professionals, what we have to offer is what our people, what everybody needs. That's just our people, but people need. So I'm looking forward to that, the contracting work that Eddie, I did. I got that one page out and sent it in. So it was a breeze. So I'm looking forward to working with everybody.
Fantastic. I'm glad to have you on, man. I've surrounded myself with some high quality people. Mr. Steele and I, we do have a history. We worked together 10 years ago. In funeral homes, so a lot of this is preaching to the choir even today, but I figure we'll pull this level of knowledge together. We'll have it so that someone will be able to look at the tape and video and maybe grab some of the knowledge so that we won't have to do the same basic training over and over again. But it's good to have you here, Mr. Steele. I know I can count on you. You were the one that I called the contracting about this morning. So they said that you went in first. So you were all in all that mess.
Yeah, I saw it. I got it, copied it, sent it back,
Anyway, well done. So it's done. Now, Mrs. Ross, Geraldine.
Hello, good evening to everyone. My name is Geraldine Ross, and my 9 to 5, as I heard Mr. Delbert say, I work for Accenture, so I'm a technology finance senior analyst. But my funeral experience, I've been with Walker's Funeral Home that's based out of Decatur, Champaign, and Springfield. I've been with Walker for 4 years now, and I'm a coordinator for him in the Peoria area. And I've been in ministry for me. I have truly God had a plan for me and I just didn't know it. And to embrace it, it's just been phenomenal for me. But also, as Mr. Delbert said, people has a need. The families that I've worked with since I've been with Walker in the Peoria area, unbelievable people do not have life insurance. And it's been really sad because we have done several crowdfunding to help family, dinners, all kinds of stuff that people have been doing. But I also, even once I get my license, I can run. The unbelievable leads that I have right now, people need life insurance. And I told Walker, I'm gonna let me get on board with you all so I can go back and help the community, because our community definitely needs help here. And it's been heart-wrenching because now this industry, their death is getting younger and younger. I just buried a 15-year-old 3 weeks ago, and heart-wrenching. But thank God his grandmother had a life insurance policy on him. And that made it, took a lot of stress off of mom. So it has really, like I said, has really been rewarding for me, because I go in with the Christian background to help the families understand that God is in control. And by him being in control, he has put me. So I tried to take a lot of the running, the stress off for families. So being with you guys to get my license, I think I need to talk to Ms. Porter, because I would love to do this in 3 days. Because the need that I see right now, I need to jump. I should have jumped on it months ago. But because of the pandemic, it slowed down some things for me with Walker, but it also made the community, because Walker said he has never had the traffic that he's had since the pandemic happened. It has been unreal. So I thank you for the opportunity, and I pray that you all can help educate me to help me be even a better representative all the way around.
Fantastic.
So, thank you.
And we're really glad to have you aboard. Geraldine came to us as a recommendation from Sharon Tucker. They're in Peoria at T.W. Parks Colonial Chapel. So you come in with high recommendations, and I do look forward to working with you. Welcome aboard. You've joined a network of people, and
thank you. Appreciate it.
We're going to keep this network so that you can reach out to anybody here at any time.
Okay.
Because we're open.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
That's the way we're going to do it. If you can't get some of these guys, and you can just spoon off a militia, for an example, you know?
Okay. Yes. Just so you guys know, I am friends of Sharon and Shari. I have been around that family for 20, and Sharon's the T.W. Parks took care of my mother. And so I go way back with the Tucker family as well. So that's why she's been knowing me as a person, but also as a client.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thank you so much, Geraldine. And now we have Justine Click with us. Justine, introduce yourself. Hey.
Hi, I'm Justine Click. So I used to do pre-need and at-need services for Greenview Memorial Gardens out of East Moline, Illinois. And then I did also health insurance for United Healthcare. So I love being there to help families at the time of need. I have a massive background with my mother. She's a big part down here as far as pre-need. Me, she's amazing. I look up to her in a formal way. She's been in the business well over 13 years. And I just look forward to getting my license and learning this part of the business and kind of following in the lead of my mother. She's been phenomenal towards family members that she's helped directed, and I'm just ready to get this license and get started helping out families with their pre-need and yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And again, Justine comes in highly recommended by her mother. Her mother and I worked together for quite some time. She was a top producer. She has been in the death care industry for a while. Justine has had the death care conversation. You know, it's the conversation. The conversation that we share with families come from a place. And everybody can't do this. But if you can come from that place to where you can feel the hearts of these people and feel the significance of your responsibility, then you walk without fire, because you're going to make a good living because you're helping and supporting the community. And you know, it's always been said, whoever provides the strongest service deserves the largest amount of money. And it ain't all about money, but you know, it takes money. So now let's take a look at what we're going to try and get through today. I mean, we're taking a few minutes here, but it's important that we all know one another because we're going to be working together.
Eddie, excuse me, Mr. Pitt.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to digress a moment because you made an introduction and I didn't receive it. You know, I guess vocally with the crew. But I want to thank you for trusting me in that position, man. I really appreciate, you know, you giving me the honor and the privilege to, you know, work with you side by side, and our professional experiences one-on-one with each other. It's encouraging to me to know that, you know, you would instill that type of honor on me. So I just want to say thank you publicly.
You are more than welcome, sir. One thing I know down through the years, you are highly qualified. I introduced this gentleman to his wife, y'all, 15, 20 years ago, and they still married.
Yeah, 20.
Good.
No, we gonna come up 18 years of marriage in October.
Good gracious. Yeah,
18. I'm sorry. Go ahead, brother. Proceed.
All right. Okay, everybody, here's what we're going to try and get through today with the time that we have left. I like the first part good too, you know. But you're going to have a copy of this video, so don't worry about taking notes or anything. You'll have a copy of this video by tomorrow close of business. Our topic today, we're going to talk about pre-need. We're going to talk about final expense. We're going to talk about your presentation to the family. We're going to talk about your contracting with Elko, and we're going to talk about funeral home assignments. And that's a mouthful for all of it. But again, please feel free to chime in if you wish, if you need to. But when we look at pre-need, and hold on one second.
Mr. Pitts,
Yes.
You're buffering really bad. Is there something you can do on your end? We getting part of your conversation, and it's constant.
That's horrible. You know, that's a Zoom thing.
Okay.
It's a Zoom thing.
Okay.
Checking into it now. Here's what everybody recognize while you're on the line. It stops you, but it doesn't let words get out that you don't hear. So when you hear it stop, remember, it's going to pick up right where the person left off, so you're not missing any words. And it's a Zoom thing. It's been doing that for 3 days. It's been difficult, very difficult. But you can easily, if necessary, ask me to say it again. So when we look at pre-need, sometimes called burial insurance, funeral insurance, or a pre-need funeral contract, it's a type of permanent life insurance used to pay for funeral services. You know, and when we say pre-need is final expense, but final expense is not pre-need. If I can make the differential, if I can make the difference there so it's understood. Pre-need freezes the cost of the funeral. Pre-need is set up to where they pay 3, 5, 7, 10 years, and they're done. They pay the plan off, and the plan in place grows 1, 2, or 3%. And that growth goes to the funeral home to offset inflation. So now that's pre-need. 3, 5, 7, 10 years is paid for. You don't have to worry about it anymore. Now, final expense is whole life insurance, but it's normally just smaller amounts of insurance than what most people will be looking for at $50,000 to $100,000. Small amounts of insurance, but they pay it for the rest of their lives, which means it's less expensive. If I can pay something off in 5 years as opposed to 50 years, obviously my monthly investments are going to be smaller or larger if I'm doing it over a 5-year period. So we're going to talk a little bit more about both of those. Presentation. I'll just read that. By studying your presentation material, you become more knowledgeable and confident about the topic. You gain a deeper understanding of the subject matter, allowing you to communicate it more effectively to your audience or to your family. So the presentation, you're going to get the words to the presentation. And I often share with new agents, don't get lost in the words, because each page has a message. And as you flip your presentation, you want to just get the message through for that particular page without overthinking it. And you don't want to stay in one area too long and milk it, because the attention span for most people is not really long enough for us to dilly-dally. So we have to hit the points necessary and go to the next page, and get to the end of the presentation without rushing, but also allowing the family to get involved. As you give the presentation, you got to do so much talking because you're giving a presentation. But if you get through that whole thing and the family didn't get a chance to say much, that's not good, because they're not with you. You went to the end of the presentation by yourself. It's important that you bring the family with you on the presentation. We'll talk more about that too. And then we're going to look at contracting. Elco is a 70-year-old insurance company, and it's a mutual company, which means it's shared the profit with the policyholders. That was one of the things that was important for me too. I looked at dozens of companies. Elco was very impressive, and they were eager to do things to help us get positioned. They were going to give us marketing funds for promoting your funeral home and different things of that nature. I was laughing because no more than a year or so ago, I was with one program, and they invited me out, and then they gave me the information, and I got the hotel and I got the rental car and did everything on my own, and I was there. Elco just invited me out to a golf outing, and when I looked at the bottom, it says all accommodations are taken care of. That kind of lets you know the difference in a real company. They got confidence in what they do and what we're going to be able to do because they're going to help us. If all of those who say, what have you done for me lately, and making these promises and hopes and wishes, the company that has the support that you need, they'll put a foot out front first. You'll see them, our marketing allowance is not based on what we've done because we haven't done anything yet. Our marketing allowance is based on what they expect us to be able to do with our experience and with the support that they're willing to offer us. So that's major. Now, we look at the preparation. Our plan is to explore multiple funeral homes and carefully evaluate each one to assure that we find the best fit for each agent. I want everybody to concentrate on some new professional photos and polish up your resume, because that's how they're going to select what agent's going to represent them. Some people don't like tall people. Some people don't like short people. Some people don't like light people. Some people don't like dark people. Some people don't like men. Some people don't like women. All kinds of mess like that. But you're going to represent yourself properly, professionally, and then you'll be selected, or I'll push you off on somebody. So when we look at pre-need and final expense, somebody unmute yourself and take this pre-need insurance category by category, please.
Freeze the cost of funeral within, written with a limited pay whole life policy, typically 5, 7, or up to 10 years payoff. Early payoffs will cost more due to the limited amount of time to pay. These policies pay commissions on the face amount of the funerals, with the funerals homes as the beneficiary. Pre-need policies include a growth factor of anywhere from 0.25% up to 3% paid to the funeral home at inflation. Written as a whole life policy paid to 100.
Oh, that was your part. That was your part.
Well, I went too far.
Does anybody have any questions about the cost of the funeral being frozen?
I do.
Okay, hold on.
I was like, wait a minute. So this reminds me of
hold on one second.
Lincoln Heritage.
Preston?
Yeah, I've been trying to get it.
When we sold that back.
You didn't get what?
I didn't get the link.
Hold on a second. Let me send it to you real quick. Guys, hold on 1 second, please.
What happened? Was I reading too slow or too fast?
Oh no, you did good, but you went over the final expense. You were just doing pre-need.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Hold on.
Oh, see, that's what I'm saying. I lost the screen and I don't see nobody. Oh, here we go. Back, but I had to make that disappear so I can read. You asked me to read something. I know how to read. But comprehension is better than reading sometimes. Okay.
Okay, there we go. Go on. I just had to send one off. Somebody lost the link. You had a question, Stanley, again?
No, sir. I was just moving on.
Okay. Yeah, the freezing the cost of the funeral is significant because on the other side here we have final expense, and final expense is just it's a whole life insurance policy, and you pay to your 100, and it makes the premium less. And it depends on the family and their particular scenario. Because the one thing that you don't want to do is have somebody set up to make payments more than what they can afford. So when you look at the pre-need insurance, and if they set up a 10-year paper, say, the premium might be $80. But if you were to set up a final expense for that same amount of insurance, the premium is probably going to be like $35. And hold on a second. Again, that's because they pay for a longer period of time. But with the final expense program, you'll find sometimes that they'll add extra money. So a funeral is from $8,000 to $10,000 in final expense, they're encouraged to get maybe $20,000 or $30,000 worth of coverage. That way they can cover the inflation spread, but they can also use that money for other things, like surrounding the funeral, like the grave, the vaults, flowers, marker, memorial, and things of that nature, even the dinner and the repast and things of that nature. So final expense gives them extra money. But at the same time now, here's where the difference is, and I want everybody to remember this. Pre-need insurance is assigned to the funeral home. Somebody who's really concerned about their final arrangements, they want pre-need because they write their wishes down, they select their products and services, and they know the funeral home's going to take care of that service. Whereas final expense, you got a family member that's the beneficiary. and hope you pick the right one. Because we know for a fact, some families pick the person that go to California when the person died and don't come with the money. Some people just take the insurance money and disappear. They don't care. That's a challenge. So for someone who's really concerned and may not have anybody to help take care of their estate, and they may not have anybody who they trust, then they can do a pre-need insurance and know that they're not going to be left out in somebody's yard somewhere because a pre-need insurance policy takes care of that. Usually smaller amounts again, and then we talked about the beneficiary being a trusted family member. But at the end of the day, pre-need versus final expense doesn't really matter. The bottom line, what does the family need? What is affordable for that family is the only thing that matters, because you want them to have a policy that they can keep. So often in our community, we take out a policy, pay it for 3, 4, 5 years, and then let it lapse. Pay for another 4, 5 years on another policy and let it lapse. In many cases, that's because the agent didn't sell them. Right. They sold them too much. So when we're in the house selling insurance, we're asking the family investments month in and month out. And if they stutter one bit with me, we're going to take the payment down a little bit, because I'll tell them in a minute, like my grandmother used to say, a half a loaf of bread is better than no loaf at all.
Come on now.
It's better to have something than to have nothing. So let's get you started where
Come on, talk to me. But at the end of the day, you want to service, you serve the family. That's what most important.
Well said. Well said, Stan.
Make sure, yeah.
But then the fact that when we do the presentation, they get a chance to write down their wishes. You know, they start to having thoughts that they should have been talking over, a husband and a wife and a family. But many times people smooth over the reality of death. They don't have a will. You know, if we're visiting with people, you can get a will online. You know, so we educate them and let them know you can get a will online. You know, and filling out the booklet that we have, that electronic book, the Family Protection Guide. We're going to go over that in a second, but that Family Protection Guide it's mind-boggling, it's mind-jogging. You know, you got people who don't get benefits. You know, insurance policies never paid off because nobody knew it existed. You got Uncle Bob them put money under the doggone sofa somewhere. You got safety deposit box in banks where people don't know they exist. And these are the things that the family will be entitled to that they don't get a chance to have because somebody didn't take care of their business. So when we open this level of conversation, then we're providing that family with the idea that talking about this is going to make it better for everybody. They get a chance to talk about insurance, what might be the best for them. You know, when we look at what we're doing here, we're doing small amounts of insurance, pre-need funeral at $10,000, $12,000, final expense, maybe a $20,000 policy. Some of those families need a $100,000 policy. Some of them want $1 million policy. We don't spend anybody's money, but you will be positioned to offer whatever level of protection that family needs. So when we start to talk about the pre-need and final expense, we get that done. But then this family or the siblings, somebody might have a whole bunch of money. Guess what? We can handle that for them too. So you got the pre-need, you got final expense, and then you got every kind of other insurance that exists, health, retirement, and everything else. We'll talk about some of the other later, but just an idea of the authority that you have by being a licensed agent and being positioned with the funeral homes. Because when you speak to the family at the aftercare visit, you're not selling anything, of course, but you're going to get the names of the people who attended that funeral, and you're going to be able to give them a presentation, and then they're going to give you friends and relatives' names as well. So you end up having more people to see than you have time to see. And that's always a good problem when you're in sales, because, you know, a lot of organizations, they're selling leads. There are people buying leads, they're paying like $50 for one lead, and the people hang up on them. But What it boils down to is what that particular family needs. And if we can remember that, then we can stay on top of it, because we're counseling then. We're not salespeople, ranked salespeople. Let me go into some of this other information for us, because I wanted you to take a look at some of our products. But first, let's look at this company, Elko. Elko, 70 years old. I'm not going to read that. Not going to read that. Here's what I want you to see, though. Established back in 1946 as Employees Life, officially chartered and opened its doors in downtown Chicago, Illinois. Employees Life moved to Rogers Park in Illinois in 1954. 4 years later, I was born. Employees Life became a mutual company in 77. The company moved to the current home that's in Lake Bluff, Illinois. Employees Life Company Mutual merged with Crown Life in 1980. And that's where it's called Elko. The Employees Life Company Mutual merged with the Locomotive Engineers Mutual Life and Accident Insurance Association in 1985. As you can see, it's just been constant and consistent growth. Many companies don't have the privilege of being around that long, and you got a lot of new players in the game. And this is where you find the discrepancy in the commissions. You know, I know people, and we're going to talk about your commissions, but you have some of the highest commissions in the industry. And the way that many companies structure their commission, I mean, again, you're going to get copies of this, so don't worry about taking notes, but you'll get on the sweet spot, person maybe age 50 in good health, $10,000 policy, you get $2,500 off that. Well, we've structured this so that you're not like a sharecropper. And many companies set it up that way, which means they'll give you the whole $2,500 next week. But if it cancel, they want the $2,500 back. So if you don't have a big sale the next week, then you all of a sudden you're trying to find out where you can get $1 from. What we've established here is a reserve account. 50% of those commissions are advanced after the sale is made. Paychecks are written on Wednesday or deposits are made on Thursday. And 50% of it will be paid every month when they make their payment for the next 6 months after the first 6 months that have been paid. What this does, ladies and gentlemen, is create a residual income for you. As opposed to working and trying to figure out what have you done for me lately, you build a reserve account. So obviously after a couple of years, you got payments coming in from sales that you made, even if you don't wake up and move out the bed. You know, you don't, my opinion, you never want anything that you got to do all the time to get paid for it. Residual income. I mean, and I'm not prejudiced by any stretch of the imagination, but in the Caucasian world, many of them, it's residual income. You build something and you build it for 20 years and it pay you residual income, whether you get up or get down or whatever. That is your retirement, where other people are trying to figure out where to get a couple of dollars from. But the products now, the products that Elko offer is a flexible premium deferred annuity, a Platinum Eagle single premium whole life policy. Talk a little bit about that. That plan is an excellent way to transfer wealth to a beneficiary on an income tax-free basis. You simply pay one time, no additional payments are required, which means you spend downs. Spend downs where they got to get rid of money to go into nursing homes and all that kind of stuff, or people who got nice retirements, and a lot of people got money. You know, it's not just a few people that got money, a lot of people got money. So if they're trying to pass some generational wealth, they can put $1 million into the Platinum Eagle, gain interest on that, and then make the beneficiary the kid. And when they receive those monies, there's no tax on insurance. So all of a sudden it becomes a tax shelter. We got the Silver Eagle Final Expense Insurance, again, just whole life, single premium deferred annuity. We have an immediate annuity. Golden Eagle whole life insurance, which is just a regular insurance policy, but it's not designed to be a small amount. In that particular policy, they can pick up $100,000, $200,000, $300,000. You don't have to do a physical, do blood work and all of that. But the one thing we have to remember, and it's important, people who are healthy don't pay as much for insurance. So if you're working with somebody who's real healthy and whatnot, don't try to put them in a guarantee issue program and stuff like that, because it's not fair. The premiums are higher for people who are sick. Doesn't that make sense? Of course. And the insurance company is all based on a risk assessment. If you got high blood pressure, you got diabetes, and you had a heart attack last month, you're more likely to die. So the insurance company would be silly to have the same rate for you or make the same provisions for you. You know, where in the world today, they talk about discriminating. The insurance company has the right to discriminate because of health. They can't do it based on a class of people. They can't discriminate because you black, because you white, because you tall, because you short. But they can discriminate because of your health issues, because it's not a good risk for somebody who is already really ill. You'll have the contact information, so I'm brushing through this page so that you can look back at the video and pull any of this information off that you need. We're working closely with the executives with Elko. So it gets us a strong place to be. And it's really exciting too. The pre-need advantage. You're going to have these documents. You're going to have access to backstage with Elko, and you're going to have your codes and everything. But the pre-need advantage, a summary of this particular policy. It's 1% growth on Schedule A, 2% on Schedule B. What does that mean? Last year, it was 25 basis points growth for insurance for pre-need, 25 basis points. The interest has gone up. So now it's 1 or 2%, which will offset the cost of inflation because it's compounded monthly. Now, depending on what funeral home we're working with, the director makes that decision on what his growth is. If he chooses 2% growth, the commissions are smaller, period. 1%, the commissions are higher. Doesn't really matter, because if the commissions are lower, you'll just sell more. Health questions, only 2 health questions. Yes or not answers qualify for guarantee issue. No qualifies for simplified issue. 2 health questions. If you say no to that, then you qualify for a simplified issue. You get the insurance, you don't pay anything extra, and they issue you a policy. The death benefit on a simplified issue and a single pay, you receive the full death benefit. Simplified issue, you're going to get the full death benefit. Now, they're going to do a MIB, Medical Information Bureau check, to find out if you're lying, because all that information is there. And a single pay, you get the full benefit. Now, if we do a guarantee issue and a multi-pay, if they die in the first year, they get a return of premium and 4% interest. Now, let me tell you what the difference is here. The period of contestability for an insurance policy is 2 years. So under anybody else, if you bought a policy and you die within the first 2 years, I mean, right to the date, they're going to give you the money back and not necessarily that much interest. But that's all you get back for 2 years. Elko guarantee issue, multi-pay, if you make it a year, in year 2, they're going to pay 70% of that face amount. 70% of that face amount will be paid to that funeral home. Come on now. Where everybody else will want to wait another year, and in year 3, the policy pays at 100%. So when we look at the plan options, single pay, 3 pay, 5 pay, 7 pay, 10 pay, that's just going to determine what the monthly payments are. And I would go over that calculations, the calculating chart for the insurance. But it doesn't make sense because you're going to have an app on your phone. You just put the age in, how much it is, and all of that stuff pops up. Unlike what we did 15 years ago, you had to be jazzy. Is it a quarterly premium? Is it monthly? And let me divide this by that times this. All that's been simplified now. Fortunate. But our single pay goes from 25 to 95, 3 pay from 25 to 90, 5 pay from 25 to 85, 7 pay from 25 to 80, and the 10 pay from 25 to 80 years old, which stretches it out for a long time. I mean, they issue that at 80. That means for 10 years, you're going to be 90. And you don't know if anybody's going to make it that far. But the risk that they calculate based on the reality and the death and the mortality tables gives them a chance to make money at this rate. But what a lot of companies have done, they've jacked everything up because everything else is going up. So they just jacked everything up. So the value isn't there for many companies. They've cut commissions and they've raised the premiums and no benefit to the agents. So those are some of the things when we look at being positioned. I mean, Elko, great. We have Symmetry Financial. That's another 30 insurance companies. Great. But at the end of the day, can I get in front of somebody? Can I help somebody? Can I make some money? We got 300 funeral homes, ladies and gentlemen. We got 300 funeral homes. We got funeral directors. We didn't even do any advertising or anything yet. And I've been keeping this close to my chest. You know, as you might notice, the people who are on the line are referred by somebody. I got applications, people trying to get in. But like I say, I don't see any reason why those of you on the phone won't all be a part of the management team. So if I can duplicate myself with just you guys, then you can reproduce yourself and then we multiply. We're helping the community and we're helping people position themselves financially in a place. I'm going to tell you right now that here in Chicago, the minimum wage is $15. Well, guess what? Somebody who thought they only qualified for $15 an hour just needs some guidance and their life could be changed forever. And I've done that for dozens of people in the death care industry where their life is never the same again. You know, one fellow, he moved out of downtown Philadelphia out into the cobblestones of Chestnut Hill and bought him a new car somewhere in the first 90 days. Because if you're going to work this program, the possibilities of raking in a whole lot of finance is real. You know, when we look at the pre-need training that they have, there's a guide. I'm not going to try to go into all of that, but you will have this guide and have the ability to take your time and look at what's in this product description and product features. And it's a lot of information, especially those of you who are still studying for the exam. But that's why I wanted you to have this, because as you move through studying, you go to another level of proficiency in your mind. So the more you study, the more you're able to retain. So while you're in that frenzy of a study mode, you need all of this. And the main thing is to know where this information is and how you can get to it. So we pull this together and you have another class on some of those things along with aftercare. Single premium, what's the deal with the single premium? In so many terms, if they wanted to pay for a $10,000 funeral, single premium, then they would take $10,000 and they would divide it by 900. I mean, 9,000, which means they don't pay all of it. The difference in that money is picked up with the interest from that deposit. So if I want a $10,000 funeral, and if I went to the funeral home, I get a $10,000, I get a $10,000 funeral. Through this program, if I want a $10,000 funeral, then I don't have to pay $10,000 because of the return rates on the policies. Multi-pays, multi-pay continue. I'll go slow, it'll be on the video. You'll get a chance to take a look at this. Guarantee issue. You got the mobile application for the rates. When you are licensed and you get contracted with Elko, you're going to have an agency number and you're going to be in the back office. Every document is set up now so that it can be done electronically while you're sitting at home on your computer. You know, we talk about being at home on the computer, and I like the idea of being virtual, but at the same time, you don't have to stay home. You can go out and be in the field now. You know, we're not as afraid as we once were, because I still don't believe nothing takes the place of an eyeball to eyeball conversation, whether you're in their home or in the funeral home. It's just a privilege that we have to be able to do it online, because some people don't want to see you. Some people don't want you in their house. Some people don't want to come back to that funeral home. So the reality is we're so versatile now with the offerings that we have that we are in a new age with regard to insurance sales and the realities of what we're able to do and build a legacy that will stay in our family for years to come. Here are those factors I was mentioning. You'll never have to really touch that, because you're going to just put those numbers into your phone or your computer, and it'll figure it all out. But here's how it works, you know, and you'll have access to this. Again, you can pause the video and play with this, but the modal factor, if it's monthly, is 0.834 times the face amount. If it's quarterly, 265 times the face, and you come up with the monthly or the quarterly or the half year payment. Very simple and non-complicated. Remember, if, you know, sometimes people have problem with numbers. If you have problem with numbers, call me direct and we can work through it, because that's not something to be afraid of. Early payoff options, paid up additional riders. Application, we're gonna go over that application. If I can find that, there it is. I'll go to the bottom of this so that you'll be able to review it in the video by pausing, because until you're licensed, a lot of this you will not get. But I don't feel that you should be waiting for this information when you could be up to date on this. This goes, wow, never ends, huh? Let me stop here. Does anybody have any questions or concerns or statements or comments?
Yeah, I do, brother Pitt. So far, man, what a thorough presentation. I just wanted, man, I thank God for you, man, with your vision and, you know, the tenacity that you have, and not only, you know, elevating yourself personally, but giving other individuals the opportunity to come aboard and be a part of, you know, something that's phenomenal. This is phenomenal, man. You know,
I consider it a privilege. You know, we're in 44 states. We're everywhere. You know, so initially, if you have somebody in another state, we can have somebody write that up and share commissions. You know, so you don't have to worry about not being able to cover somebody, because we got funeral homes everywhere. Once you are in the seat, each of you will get an opportunity to call a couple of funeral homes that are out of town, just to introduce yourself. We'll get the surveys back on those who don't have a pre-need program established, and then we instantly start working on filling those places. Now, the pre-need application, it doesn't get much better than this, guy. You're sharing, just like I'm sharing it with you guys. You're on your computer, the family is there, and you start to ask the questions. You fill out the name, la-di-da-di-da-di. Ask the health question. Like I said, there are only two of them. In the past 5 years, has the proposed insured been diagnosed by a member of the medical profession as having or receiving treatments for a medical practitioner for any of the following disorders: AIDS or HIV positive, chest pain, congestive heart failure, heart problems, cancer, stroke, alcoholism, drug abuse, complications of diabetes, Alzheimer's, dementia, or disorders of the lungs, liver, or kidney? And it's saying with two questions. That's a serious question there, isn't
it? The answer is no.
That's what
a whole bunch of questions all tied up in one.
They gonna say.
And the next question is, in the past 6 months, has the proposed insured been hospitalized in a nursing home, in assisted living, or had hospice care, or been home confined on orders of a medical practitioner? Yeah, the answer is yes or no. And as you can see here, if the proposed has been diagnosed as terminally ill by a member of the medical profession and it's not expected to live past 24 months, and they're not expected to live past 24 months, or if the applicant is over 95, please select DFD. And that DFD sets you up for a single pay, and there is no cancellation on that. So there's no chargeback scenario in there.
Oh, wow.
If they answer yes to any one of these questions, then they qualify for a guarantee issue. That means we're going to guarantee and issue it. We're going to still get the policy. They're going to still get coverage. But now they go into that point where it's modified. Again, 70% in year 2. Interest and premiums in year 1. You know, and
so Eddie, Delbert, let's hold your thought there. Hold your thought. Going back in this initial interview, you know, by me, of course, you know, my life has been life insurance and final expense. Now, what you get to my repertoire is the pre-need. So what I'm saying is, in the beginning of that conversation, me as the professional has to predict or has to lead them into one way or another. Are we going pre-need? Are we going life insurance? And that has, I'm thinking that has to be solidified before I get to this application.
That's right. That's right, because there's another application for the final expense. But now here, a good question.
That's what I'm looking at, where I'm going.
I'm glad you asked that question. Remember, we're fortunate enough that we represent the funeral home. So what we want to do is get a pre-need. That's the funeral home, the beneficiary. Right. We don't have to worry about no funny business, and the person going to have the wishes taken care of that they want.
There we go.
That's what we want. But because 3, 5, 7, 10 pay is higher than your 100, we may have to come out of the pre-need and sell them final expense. Now, if we sell them final expense, then we're going to go back and get an irrevocable assignment for the funeral home. An irrevocable assignment for the funeral home, which means nobody still won't be able to take that money and mess their funeral up. Good question. Thank you.
Okay.
So as we go on further down, agent notes, you know, we're the underwriters, and the funeral home, they're gonna fill this out. You're gonna have this when you go in. Hold on, where'd it go? Hey, where you go? Hold on.
So Ed, another quick question.
Go.
No, I'm just saying, I'm going through this. I went through my presentation. Boom, I find out, oh, we got 100K, or she got 100K over here. Now all I can do at that point is just say, hey, look, let's see what we can do with this. And of course, go back to my illustration. Let's look at some numbers. Is that the way to do that? It's like, hey, okay, let's see what we can do. We know we can put it in annuity, index annuity, whatever we're doing an annuity, right?
Right. Well, now we're going to do both. We're gonna get the pre-need program set up, because that freezes the cost of the funeral, and we're gonna drop the rest of it in that annuity. We're not gonna leave the money there
in that annuity.
Now, that answers your question, right?
Well, I'm wondering to answer that customer, if it was you, you know, and I found 100,000, and you getting ready to give it to me, what my 100,000 get ready to do?
Right, right. Well said. You're going to get that funeral and you're going to put the rest of it in that annuity. They're going to either do a single premium or they can start taking the money right away.
Will I be able to show him or her some type of illustration what that money would do over a period of time?
Yes, you will be able to pull the illustration up, lickety split.
Okay.
With
All
your
right. I ain't trying to be hard, man. I'm just
man, I'm telling you, man, those questions, man, every one of them. If you like me, when I got questions, it stops me. And a lot of times I can't go any farther until I get answers. Unfortunately, that's my reality. So I'll
well, these will be real situations, Eddie.
Right, right. But now we have the
You know what I'm
state.
saying? We're gonna walk into that money, man. Not looking for it. We're looking to do it pre-need.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Each funeral home sets up their prices based on what they are charging. So, and for an example, down there where Terrellin is, he'll be setting up these packages, and we do them good, better, or best. Good, better, best. They'll pick up one funeral that might be 900, one that's 1,200, one that may be 1,600. I mean, 1,000. Excuse me. But so when we go in, we got packages, good, better, best, and they got a cremation package. So the family picks a package. And that's all we need to do now is figure out how we're going to fund this package.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And so much of the conversation comes back from the funeral home, and I'll say in a minute, when Sharon put this program together, she had her families in mind. So many families were coming back and having financial challenges and everything. So she put this pre-need program together so she can educate the community. And I'll tell you right now, once you've been educated, if you choose to do nothing, some people don't, but at least you have a chance. And she don't have to worry about families coming in and she can't help them because she helped with the education. Because many times the family come in and they just don't have money. They're searching for money, trying to do a fund me account and all that kinds of stuff. That's why she put the program together. So she wanted me to let you know that we just need to find something convenient for you. Which one program you like most? And this actually turns into a lot of fun when you're in the process because you're really helping somebody and you get a chance to make jokes about death. Before somebody is sick and on the deathbed, we can have some of these conversations and protect the family. That's what makes us the do-gooders that we are. We are now at 7:17. We've almost gone 30 minutes overtime. What I will do, let's see. I'll flip a few pages of this presentation.
Before you go into it, Mr. Pitts, I had one question.
Okay.
How is the presentation? Do you have a copy of a sample that I can tweak, that I can present to funeral homes, or when I go to speak at churches to introduce business? Some is even allowing me to set up in the vestibule. Yeah. So I just want to have something to attract and what I'm talking to the members about.
Well, this presentation can be reduced into a spiral so that you can flip pages on the table, but as well, we're going to get some stand-up banners and stuff too.
Okay. And like help me with a script that will kind of, it's like pretty much like an elevator pitch.
Oh yeah. I already have the script for your talk.
Perfect.
Yeah. Because that's one of the easiest ways to become in the business is to get in front of those people because you don't have to sell when you're there. They want to buy from you when you're there.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
So the first page of the presentation, let me flip through a couple of them. If anybody is short on time, I will be finished in 10 minutes. Wherever we are, I'm going to stop. And we'll schedule another training for maybe the next couple of weeks down the road. But in the middle of the evening like this, I don't want to be disrespectful of you guys' time. Again, the page to show your producer number gives a credence to who you are. The family is comfortable. And remember, we're online now. You know, I didn't even meet you. I was introduced to you by the funeral director on his computer, Zoom, and now I'm meeting you Zoom. Or you met person to person, and you're in the funeral home or in their house. But your credentials give people a chance to relax a little bit because there's so much craziness going on today. You know, it's like, okay, well, let's talk about this up front. You don't have to worry about my license and all that. Here's my license. Here's who I am. Take a screenshot of that. So in so many words, we've got the license and we've got the pictures from the funeral home. And I mean, here's a statement, and I said it before. Sharon over at TW Parks put this program together just because she wanted to educate the community. You know, the main reasons that she put the program together is because so many people never sit down and discuss this subject. Let me ask you, Mr. Davis, Mrs. Davis, have you all ever talked about what would happen if something were to happen to one or both of you? And you let them talk. Well, look, like Mr. Davis, if you were gone today, how would your wife fare? Do you have your affairs in order? Talking straight to people, because I'm the counselor. It's my responsibility to hit some places that you've been roughing over, you know, ignoring, don't want to talk about it, burying me out in the backyard, that nonsense. It's time to talk about this. Well, you know, also the reason is she found that so many people have never had to make arrangements before. So many people don't know what a burden it is. They don't know what it is to come up short on money and trying to beg, borrow, to try to put a loved one away on top of the grief of the loss. So when she put the program together, it just made so much sense for families to be able to get this education. Let me ask you, Mr. Davis, who would be responsible for your arrangements if something happened to you? And you know he goes straight to his wife. My wife would be taking care of all of that. You know, God forbid if something would have happened to both of y'all, who would take care of your arrangements? So you done hit something there now, because now we're looking at a kid probably, or somebody not as close. Wow, if something happened to both of us, I don't know. You know, or if you just be the last one left, David. If there were a death in your family yesterday, what would you be doing today? And they'll start talking. Let them talk. What would you be doing? Well, I could be calling people and I'd be doing this and I had to do this and nah. Let them talk. When you get to the next page, whenever they finish talking, you just simply say, I'm sure you would agree there would be many things to do. In fact, we've listed many of the separate details that would have to be taken care of. Someone has to gather the vital statistics. Someone has to make cemetery arrangements. Someone has to make funeral arrangements. Someone has to collect legal documents. There are people that need to be notified, bills to be paid, future plans must be thought out. You know, there's a lot that has to be taken care of. And the first area of responsibility, gathering all those vital statistics and information, can be covered in the emergency record guide. You know, and I'm proud to be able to bring that to you today. The emergency record guide gives you a chance to write down what your wishes would be. But when we look at the three separate areas of responsibility, someone has to gather the vital statistics and historical information, someone has to arrange and pay for the funeral service or the mortuary of their choice, and someone has to arrange and pay for the final resting place. Again, the first part is taken care of in the emergency record guide, and the guide's coming up. Oh, yeah. So there we have it, the emergency record guide. Mr. and Ms. Davis, I want to take a few moments to go over this booklet with you. Some families have found this to be the most valuable book in their house, next to the Bible, once they have completely filled it out. Our emergency record guide goes through all the necessities of getting your affairs in order, wills and important documents. Let me ask you, have you all prepared your will yet? You know, most people are going to say no, they haven't done it. Well, you know, I'm not an attorney or anything, but you can I'll download you a will and send you a copy of it. You can get it online and you make your wishes known and have it notarized. It become a legal binding document. And there's so many things regarding that will. You know, there are children that are being thrown into orphanages because you didn't name who you would want to be the person to take care of the child if something would have happened to both of you, and so many other subtleties and nuances with regard to the will. One for the wife, one for the husband. You started looking for the documents. Where are the insurance policies at? Diplomas, things that you want to get credit for if you passed away, your military DD-214 paper, your social security number. You know, social security pays $255. Mr. and Mrs. Davis, a lot of people think social security pay for funerals. It don't happen that way. That's a very small amount that they pay. But stocks and bonds, even the money under the pillow, Mr. Davis, the money in the safety deposit box, if something happened, the family needs to know where that is. And you start by filling out the emergency record guide, the insurance policies that you have, all of them, bank accounts. You know, I don't know, and it's none of my business, but a lot of families have separate bank accounts. You know, unfortunately, my wife and I, we just have a joint account where we both just take care of our business. You know, I'm proud to be able to say that. But some relationships are not that way. And those accounts, we need to know where they are. If you don't write the account numbers, somebody needs to know what bank to go to. What bank do I show up at? You know, because my husband left some money here. My wife left some money here. I know she got some money here. What was her name? Mary Jane. But if you don't know, God, that's so unfair. And we've seen it happen over and over again. But personal statistics, where your family from, city, county, place of birth, what's his mother's maiden name? So much of that stuff nobody knows. You know, what kind of offices did you hold? What kind of education did you have? What should be written in your obituary? I mean, if you don't leave any direction, how could, some of it's ridiculous in my opinion, you know, and you try to hold yourself. White statistical information, veteran information and benefits, Social Security information and benefits, passports, all of that financial information is taken care of. People to contact, you know, people you might not want to contact. Who you contact first? I mean, I know you got a son that lives in Georgia. I don't know his phone number. We don't know how to reach him. Children and other relatives. Now let me. I'm going to come off the guide, but you come down to the bottom now. We'll explain this to the family. Now you're at the memorial instructions. What type of final arrangements did you want? Above ground, below ground, cremation, priest, minister, rabbi. Do you see what's happening with this book? We have opened a can of worms in this house. People are thinking, my God, they need to think, because this is how they position themselves to protect their family from what definitely will be the worst day in their life. But as you start to pick up on the subtleties and the nuances with this book, and you don't have to touch on all of it, there's some spots that's hot for you. You know, I used to use the page about losing a loved one. I lost my first wife to breast cancer. I mean, I go into some of that kind of information because that was heartfelt. I had to back out. Do I start crying? But you need to find something in the book that catches your interest that you can expound on and pass the emotion over to the family. When you ask them, what would you do if something happened? Make sure they answer you. Mr. Davis, if something happened to you and your wife, who would take care of it? You're asking those kind of questions. Mr. Davis, do you have a secret bank account? I ask that kind of stuff. I will. Because we laughing and talking. I'm the counselor and I'm coming here. I'm here to help your living wills. Also, all of this is in this book. You're going to have a copy of that book. Now, remember, your presentation, this is the presentation here, this book. Because once you finish that book, and when you go back to the presentation, you minimize. Okay, hold. Oh, we're almost done from here. But when after you finish the emergency record guide, you've put them in a place where they're a heightened level of responsibility. One of the things that you have to remember is that when you started with them, whether you were at the funeral home, whether you were home or online, when you started the conversation with them, there were 100 things more important than what we're talking about here. Hundreds of things more important. That means who knows what even just happened in the house or yesterday, the kids, whatever. But now you have reduced all of that stuff to rubbish. And now making arrangements and securing protection for my family has become my #1 priority. And you better bet it. And I mean, the closing ratio for pre-need is very, very high because of what we just did with this book. So when we look at the book, and now we come out of the book, just two simple pages. Consider this, Mr. and Mrs. Davis. The significant events in our lives require planning. We rarely just let them happen. You know, when we get married, you plan for a wedding. You plan for all the things that's going to be necessary to fulfill the needs for a wedding. When a child is about to be born, you got to make plans. You get 9 months to do that. We only get a few hours when it's time to take care of a death. But somebody's graduating, a vacation, all of that requires planning. We rarely just let that happen. When we make all these plans for things in life, doesn't it make sense that we plan for an eventuality of life? You know, right now, decisions you make today will have a profound, lasting effect on your family in the future. You know, when we look at the cemetery that's not properly taken care of and the funeral home with the old cars, you know, if nobody makes any arrangements, then you could end up in a scenario where you might not be too proud of. But over to the right, we see where we got the beautiful cemetery, the beautiful location. A lot of people don't understand it, Mr. and Mrs. Davis, but some families pay more money to go in cemeteries that are not properly taken care of and to have their final remains taken care of by a funeral home that's not up to standard. They pay more money than they would on a pre-need program to have it taken care of professionally. When we look at protection, you got car insurance, you got auto insurance, you got theft insurance. We don't know if anything will ever happen to your car. We don't know if somebody will break into your house. But we do know somebody's gonna die. The only inevitable act is death. We know one day we got to leave. And there are only two ways we're going to take care of this type of an arrangement. The wrong way, haste, indecision, worry, grief, and uncertainty, or the right way, wise, economical, loving, confident security of your home. You're in the house together, you make a decision on what's good for both of you, and you're comfortable with it, and you put it away and let somebody know what arrangements have been made. And then we talk about inflation, how much it costs. Here's the inflation and what it's going to cost in 2058 as everything just keep going up. And when people look at this, when we say it could be $215,000 for a funeral, well, I'll tell you right now, back in 2009, nobody thought they'd be paying $13,000 for a funeral. And it's going to continue to increase. One thing we do know, every 5 to 7 years, that cost is going to double. So now let's look at what Sharon has done over at TW Parks. With the pre-need program that I'm about to show you all, you have the privilege to be able to freeze the cost of your services. And she set up some packages. There's the Sovereign, the Revelation, the Essential, and then we have cremation choices. So first, let's look at the Sovereign. The Sovereign's at $14,995. It comes with the high-grade caskets, 18 gauge, 2 limousines, the flowers are included. That's what we call the show. You know, that's one of the big expensive programs. That's the Aretha Franklin. That's the James Brown. Mr. David, I tell you what, if an individual deserved the right to be memorialized this way, then that's exactly what should happen. But the next program in the midsection here is the Revelation. That's $12,500. Come with beautiful casket selection and 1 limousine, and it also includes the flower, blah, 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 blah. And then we have the Essential, and when you finish, and I mean, hold on, I didn't want to go too fast, so you can look at it, and you go back through the video. But as you can see, the funeral home set these prices, and then they got single pay, whole life, limited labor, and 10-year pay. Which of the packages you think suit you most? They're not picking price, they're not picking payment, they're picking a package. And then you take that number from that package and you apply it to one of these companies. The e-applications and everything are there and but you just go right in and start to write the agreement. Now, the first thing that you're going to do is just go straight into a pre-need contract for that amount and figure it out. 3 options, 3-year, 5-year, and 7-year is what I would normally show them. Which one of those are more comfortable for you? 5-year it is. Just start finishing the agreement. Let me ask you, Mr. Davis, who would be your contingent beneficiary? That's a closing question there, guys. When they say who's going to be the contingent beneficiary, they just say, sign me up, period. Okay, I'm going to end this. I'm going to end it right here. I'm going to leave it open for questions, comments, statements, or we can just go.
This is Terrell, and I have a question.